I landed in Naples. Left here on the 13th September, landed in Italy on the 13th October. I figured 13 was my lucky number because I made it back. And we finished mopping up Naples, and then we went to Three Crossing of the Volturno River. Then from there to Casino. We was only there a couple of days because we lost almost all our platoon there, and lost most of my men there. Missing guys, you had to replace them. Just like every day in the grocery list, you just tell the captain, I need so many more men. And come and go quick.
Today we're truly honored to have a World War II veteran who trained here at Camp Blanding in 1943. So, Tech Sergeant Donald Halverson, we're pleased to have you back at Camp Blanding. It probably doesn't look anything like it did in 1943.
Don't recognize nothing.
Don't recognize a thing, so understood. So, Don, you came, you were inducted from Minnesota, is that right?
Left Fort Snelling in 43 and come down here. And spent about 5 months, I think it was, at this camp from April till August.
So you were here at the start of Camp Blanding's Infantry Replacement Training Center.
I think so. Looked like nobody had ever used it when we got here. We had to sweep the sand out of the barracks and clean out the branches and stuff.
All right, so what are some of the things you remember about being here in Camp Blanding?
Not a heck of a lot.
Okay,
We had a couple of good officers that were rugged-looking officers, but they were good officers.
Okay, all right.
You know, never had no trouble with officers there, on hikes and exercising and meet there and breakfast and then start hiking and exercising and stuff like that. So
okay, all right.
nothing was, you know, standing at attention and
The normal.
just getting in shape, that's about it.
Yeah, the normal.
Just a group of men here just training to go wherever we did. They picked out a few of us toward the end there and told us to get on the train, and that's when we headed up to Little Rock then. We just went through those under the barbed wire, you know, and the pits where they set off charges. And
Yeah,
we was only there about 10 days before we got on a train to go to Virginia to overseas. I guess that's why I ended up in a weapon platoon there, because I was machine gunning mortars and stuff like that. I didn't even know the captain overseas, but he put me in charge of the weapon platoon after a few months.
Yeah. Now, when you came in here, how old were you?
20 years old.
20 years old.
But then you got overseas, I was still 20. Then you got your beer rations and your cigarettes. You smoked the lousy cigarettes and drank the lousy beer because you ain't gonna live anyway. Got on the old Liberty ships there. We pulled out there, and they said we heard that there was going to be hundreds of ships in the convoy, and we pulled out and watched the land disappear and the lights, and never saw another ship. Went down to the hole, you know. You slept in hammocks. Next morning we got up, and no matter which way you look, you couldn't see the end of the ships. Where they all come from, I don't know. They disappeared on the horizon, and we was told that destroyers were patrolling our perimeter against the German subs, you know. We never had any trouble with that. I landed in Naples. Left here on the 13th September, landed in Italy on the 13th October.
Okay.
So I figured 13 was my lucky number because I made it back. Hiked for about an hour there in the dark and run into the 34th Division there. In fact, we ducked behind some buildings. There was a couple German tanks throwing a little harassing fire around us. And I never knew the captain, and a couple of weeks later he put me in charge, made me a tech sergeant, staff sergeant, and tech sergeant.
So you went directly from private to staff sergeant? And
he put me in charge of the machine gun section and the mortar section for a week or so, and then made me a platoon sergeant. And then the officer was in there, he got busted his glasses, so he left. And captain said I'd go back and get a battlefield promotion. I said, I don't like the way I am, so that's why my discharge was NCO, non-commissioned officer.
Yes, sir.
I never had no officer in the platoon after that.
Yes, sir.
And we finished mopping up Naples, and then we went to Three Crossing in the Walterno River.
Yeah.
And there was Mount Pantano. If you ever gone to some of the National Guard, they got pictures of that.
Yes. Yes. So I've.
And then from there to Casino. We was only there a couple of days because we lost almost all our platoon there. Lost most of my men there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
we crossed the valley. Well, we stood up on a hill there overnight, and then or in the daytime, and when it got dark, then we went down in 2 tanks, went through get us through the mines. So one platoon was between each tank, you know. They just idled through them, and then our tank blew a tread, so hit a big one, and we got the other one, and that hit another big tank mine, and went around that and across the mountains. And everybody was told not to talk a bit when we got across there. Got up and dug in, and next morning, this German officer come in there, and he thought at night time too, you know, there was German replacements in the night.
Oh, that's
he saw
interesting.
the guy laying there, he didn't look like us, and he tapped him and hollered out in German. Everybody jumped up, and he found out he was outnumbered about 2 to 1. There were about 75 Germans there, so they gave up. A couple shots fired, and that was it. When they found out there was 160 of us rather than 75 Germans.
Right. Wow, that's interesting.
And we worked down toward the castle set above the casino. And
yes.
Coming up a ravine there, and that's where first and second part of the third got across in the nighttime by the castle. But I left my whole platoon and part of the third still up this valley, and that's where the Germans found out where it's coming from and dropped a bunch of mortars up and down the. So they wrecked most of my platoon.
So they took out most of your platoon. Wow.
Yeah, killed and wounded. And some guys had to help, so I only had 5 guys left out of 40 when I finally got my guys across.
Wow. Wow.
I was the last one to run across, and I thought that might be my last day, but I made it. And the captain said, "I thought you were a goner." No, it wasn't much. The guys all knew what they were doing. In movies, you know, they always show them slapping guys, and you never had that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Everybody knew his job.
Yeah.
I never had any trouble with anybody.
Yeah.
Missing guys, you had to replace them. And just like every day in the grocery list, you just tell the captain, "I need so many more men." And come and go quick. When I got across there, then the captain called headquarters, and they said, "As soon as you get dark, get out of there."
Oh, so you withdrew.
So we went back down across the valley, and that's when the bombers come over. 3 of our bombers come over and blasted right where we were. When they turned, 3 more come over, and we watched them, and then we hiked back a ways, and they hauled us back down to Naples, and got some of the guys that were finally not wounded too bad, and replacement, and got on landing craft. Then that's when we headed to Anzio.
Anzio.
And we landed in Anzio, and that's where you sat there in those drainage ditches, you know. They had them dug all over so they wouldn't flood their fields, you know. It was a huge valley.
Yes, sir.
So that's where you stuck for 4 months before we broke out of there.
Yes. Yeah.
I was just lucky. I mean, when you got like Anzio, where they had those 280 millimeter railroad guns, and we called them the Anzio Express because the barrels were smooth, and the rifling on the shell when they come is on like a freight train. Had one land of 30, 40 yards in front of us. You could park a car in the hole, you know, and one come just a few yards, and there was a dud that went under, pushed the dirt up as it went under us, and that's how lucky we were.
So that is lucky. That is lucky.
I wouldn't be here today if that thing exploded.
Yeah, yeah.
But that was a bitch on the Anzio there. Days you stayed ducked down, and then nights patrols go out, and I had to check all of my guys. I had got rid of the motors and had just 6 machine gun squads. So in place, two with each platoon, you know. That's what we did for 4 months, just nights for hell out there. Yeah, we broke out of there and up through Rome.
So you got to visit Rome, I hope?
After a while.
Yeah.
After we got through there, we went up to by Pisa, and then we got arrested because we had been on the move for 4 or 5 months. So up on top of a mountain, you know, that's where we captured them all. Our watch would be synchronized with them if it was a 10-minute barrage or a 15-minute, and we'd be up just so far before it broke daylight. They'd start firing, and as soon as they start 10 or 15 minutes over and they start raising, then we'd go up to the top because the Germans were backside of the hill, you know, and you had to be up there before they come out again. So,
yes, sir.
And they'd shut it off, and we'd have to be on top. And I don't think we ever lost a mountain. And back up again, then we went up through Florence, Italy, and northern Apennines, where we spent the winter of 44 and 45. And we broke out of there and went down through Bologna and on up to the Swiss border. But in Bow Valley there, that's where we were heading up a little town of Vicenza. A bunch of trucks caught up to us and we rode back and went 175 miles north up around Milan and parked and went down this big open area they had spotted as German convoy. And we got down there and we heard vehicles coming. There was woods on both sides, so they couldn't see us, we couldn't see them. And they got to about the middle there. We watched the guy German on a motorcycle and a couple of command cars with all the German officers in it and some trucks with the tops for the infantry, and they didn't even pay no attention until they got to the middle of the field and they saw us standing there looking at them. You know, officers stopped and walked up and talked to our officers and went back and hollered at their troops there, and they all come out and threw their weapons in a pile and surrendered to us, and it turns out that was the German 34th Division surrendering to us 34th.
Oh, that's interesting.
General Bolte gave us a little souvenir card there.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And we went from there up to Swiss border, and that's when they hollered out May 2nd that the war was over.
It's over.
Nice lake down there. We all stripped down and jumped in the lake. We hadn't stepped there until they had to rebuild the whole railroad, you know, bills and everything else to get us down to Naples and home. So we spent about 5 months on the Swiss border.
Okay, okay. Were you patrolling then at all?
Huh?
Were you doing patrols? What were you doing? Just
goofing off.
Just goofing off.
Went up to Switzerland, and then we knew some guys from the motor pool, and about 10 of us hopped on the truck there and went down along the French border to Monte Carlo. We stopped there and had a few beers, and down to Nice, France, and laid on the beach. All the people were just kind of celebrating too, were laying out there.
Sure, sure.
Come back, that's all we did, just kill time until the railroad got up there and took us down to Naples and home.
Challenge coin, the way we think about that is if I see you sometime in the future and I ask you if you have your coin, if you don't have that coin with you, you got to buy me a drink of my favorite beverage.
I'll keep it in my pocket then.
So